Hello guys, so we've been learning about integers. So we're gonna continue learning about integers, but this time we're gonna start learning about exponents, right? So we did a lot in our last class, and we're still talking about integers now. So we're still having to talk about integers, but now we're gonna learn about exponents. That's what we're gonna learn about. So, if you've been following my class, you would know that I started from whole numbers, and then we talked about the differences between a whole number and an integer, and we also talked about what integers are. And we did a lot as far as multiplication, addition of integers, and things like that. And then we talked about the number line. So now the next part that I want to talk about is exponents. Exponent. You probably have heard about exponents before, but let me make it easy for you. So I'm going to start. I like to start with examples. So let's say we have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. This is 3 in how many places? So just count number of threes you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 3 in 5 places, okay? So we wrote 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So 3 in 5 places. So 3 in 5 places is, for example, we call this a repeating number, right? So when you have the same number that is multiplied by itself, because you see 3 is multiplied by 3 here, the same number is multiplied by itself, then the product can be written in exponential form. So the product, the way we write is as, because scientists don't like writing long things. We always look for short form of writing something long, make it small, right? So instead of being writing 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 5 times, what I would do, because I'm a scientist and I don't like writing long things that are repeating themselves all over again. So what I would do, I would write 3, which is what I see here. I'll write 3, and then I'll count the number of 3 I have, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll count the number of 3 I have, and I'll put that number 5 at the top right here. Okay. So now what I've done is I've written this 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've written it in a form called the exponential notation. So that will be 3, 5. Okay. Why do I have 3? Because 3 is a number that is repeating itself. Okay. So we are repeating 3. So I'm going to put 3 at the big 3 right here. And then how many times that 3 repeats itself is 5 times. So that will be 5 at the top right here. So we call this big number, okay, this 5, we usually call it as, and you probably already heard about it, you know, you've done it, but this is just to kind of like refresh our mind, so to speak, right? So this 5 is what we call the power. We call it power, okay? Let me write it down. So the 5, let me write this down. The 5 is called the power, or exponent, okay, and the 3 is what we call the base. So we call it base. So you want to, when we say it in English, we say it in English like this. Let me tell you how we say it in English. Or if you want to write it down, we say 3, 5. It's 3. It says it's 3 okay, raised to the power 5. That's what we'll say. We say 3 is raised to the power 5. So 3 is raised to the power 5. 3 exponential 5, that's another way you can say it. So that is the beginning of exponents. Let me give another example again. Let's see example. Let's write another thing in exponents. So you have an example. So example 1, okay. Example 1, we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. How do we write this in power form or in exponent form? So the first thing is, what number is repeating itself? That number is 2, right? 2 is repeating itself. So we're going to write 2 right here, okay? And then how many times is 2 repeating itself, okay? So we're going to count the number of times the 2 repeat itself. So let's count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the 2 repeated itself 6 times, okay? So let's go to put 6 right here, okay? So that's 6 right there. So that's how we're going to write this. That means that when we have, so the thing here is when we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, we'll write it, instead of writing all this out, we're going to write it as 2 raised to the power of 6. Okay, so that's how we're going to write it. And when the time comes, you would know what this is. So because 2 times 2 is 4, right? But we're not worried about calculating these numbers right now. We're just worried about how we write exponents. Okay, let's do another example. I'm going to call it example 2. Example 2 right now. In this example, let's say we are given 5 times 5 times 5, and we are asked to write this in exponential form. So the first thing again is, what number is repeating itself? The number is 5, okay? Number is 5. How many times is 5 repeating itself? 1, 2, 3. So we're going to put a 3 at the top. So that means that in this example, 5 times 5 times 5 is written as 5 raised to power 3. Do we understand? Okay. So what does this mean? What does this mean? Okay. It means that when you have a number like this, say I have AB, it means that A is repeating itself. A is repeating itself, okay, B number of times. That's what it means. So when you see that, it means that A is repeating itself B number of times. So example again is, we have 6 raised to power 4. It means 6 is repeating itself 4 times, okay? That's what it means. 6 is repeating itself 4 times. Just like we have the definition as A raised to power B, which is that A is repeating itself B number of times. So 6 is repeating itself 4 number of times. That's what the 6 4 is. So 6 4 means 6 is repeating itself 4 number of times. So that is the definition for exponent. So now we're going to go to example 3. Let's do example 3. Let's do example 3, right? Next example. Say we have a simple one. We have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, okay? So what is the number that is repeating itself? Everybody know now we have 2 repeating itself over and over again, so we're going to write 2, okay? So how many times is 2 repeating itself? So let's count the number of times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 2 repeated itself 7 times. We're going to put 7 right here. And that is how you write exponent in math form. So now let's write these in English. We say 2, okay, raised to the power of 7. Okay, this is in English. And now what you can write that is we can say 2 exponential 7. That's another English way to write it. Let me write this in English. 2 exponential 7. So that's how you write that in English. So let's go ahead and do the first example again. This time around, we're going to do a simple one. We're going to do simple example of how you add exponents and how you multiply exponents and how you divide exponent. Okay, so let's do that real quick. So we're going to choose our next topic is we're going to say our next topic is addition of exponents. Addition of exponents. So how do we add exponents together? Say you're given 2 raised to the power 3 plus 2 raised to the power 1. How do you solve that? Okay, so that's what we mean by addition of exponents. So example 1 for this right here is, what is 2 raised to the power 3? 2 raised to the power 3 is what? 2. So we write 2 how many times? 3 times. That's 2 times 2 times 2 plus 2 raised to the power 1 is the same thing as 2 one time. So that will be 2. Okay. So put a bracket, that way you know it's separate. So 2 times 2 times 2 is going to give you 8. In the bracket, write your 8, okay, plus 2. So now when you expand this, that will give you 8 plus 2, which is equal to 10. So that is how you add exponent, okay? That's one way you add exponent. But before we go on, I want to give you some rules for exponents, okay? Let's do some rules for exponents. Rules, okay? So rules number 1 is that any number raised to 1 or has a power of 1 will be equal to itself. Okay, any number raised to 1 or has a power of 1 will be equal to itself. So what does that mean exactly? What I mean by that is, for this rule number 1, is if I have, for example, a raised to the power 1 is going to be equal to a, because this is 1, right? Any number raised to the power of 1 will be equal to itself. So a raised to the power 1 is equal to a. Another example is 1,000 raised to the power 1 is equal to 1,000. Okay, 2 raised to the power 1 is equal to 2. Okay, 5 raised to the power 1 is equal to 5. And lastly, 10 raised to the power 1 is equal to 10. So you see that this number raised to the power 1 is equal to itself. It's equal to the base. A base raised to 1 has a power of 1 will be equal to itself, equal to that base. Okay, so this a right here is the base. This 1,000 is the base. This is the power or exponent, and any number raised to the power 1 is equal to itself. That is rule number 1. Let's go to rule number 2. Okay, Rule number 2. For rule number 2, I'm going to write 2 right here. We say that any number raised to the power of 0 is equal to 1. Is equal to 1. Okay? Any number raised to the power of 0 is equal to 1. For example, if I have a raised to the power of 0, it's going to be equal to 1. If I have 1,000 raised to the power of 0, it's going to be equal to 1. Okay? If I have 1 million raised to the power of 0, it's going to be equal to 1. Any number or alphabet that is raised to the power of 0 is equal to 1. So remember that rule. That rule is very, very important, okay? It's very, very important. So let's go to rule number 3. Rule number 3. Rule number 3 says, okay, that rule number 3 said that a base raised to a negative power, okay, a negative power, okay, is equal to inverse of the exponent. Inverse of the exponential. So a base raised to a negative power is equal to inverse of the exponential. Okay, what that means, for example, is that if you have, say you have, for example, if you have, for example, you have a raised to the power minus 3, okay, then this is going to be equal to 1 over a raised to the power 3 in the inverse of itself. A raised to the power minus 3 is equal to 1 over a raised to the power 3. So for example, say you're given 2 raised to the power minus 3. This is going to be equal to 1, because of the minus, this is a negative power, 1 over 2 raised to the power 3. Okay? So if you're given, another example, if you're given 2 raised to the power minus 2, it's going to be equal to 1 over 2 raised to the power 2. Why are we putting 1 first? We're putting 1 because of the negative number. The power is negative. So it has to be inverse of itself, okay, of the exponential. That's rule number 3. Rule number 4. Rule number 4. Okay, let's do rule number 4. Rule number 4 says that when a base, let me write the word base. When a base is raised to a fraction, okay, then this can be written as a square, as a root of the base and the exponent. Okay, so this one seems a little bit tricky, but it's not. It's very simple, okay? When a base is raised to a fraction, this can be written as a root of the base and the exponent. So what I'm trying to say here, I'm going to use all these rules in this class, so get ready. So you have example. So you have 2 raised to the power 1 over 2. This you're going to write as root of, okay, this 2 right here. And as a matter of fact, let me do it this way. Let me use alphabet. Example, so you have A, okay, B over C. So you have that, okay. The way you write that, you have your root. Your A is going to be on the inside, okay. Your C is going to be right here. And then your B is going to be right here. That's how you write that. So example, let's now use numbers so you can understand what I'm saying. So you give example 2, you have 2 raised to the power of 2 of half. So you're going to write that as a square, okay? Your 2, and then you're going to have your other 2 right here, okay? Then you're going to have your 1 right here, okay? That's how you write that. So another example 3. So you have 3, 1, let me say 2 over 4, okay? You write that as you have, let me take this off. You write that as your roots right here. Your 3 is going to be on the inside, okay? Your 4 is going to be right here, and you're going to have your 2 right here, okay? At the top right here. That's how you write that, okay? And what that, you can actually simplify this further to mean you're going to have a quad root of 3 2 times. Okay, that's what that means right there. You can actually simplify this for that to be 3.5. Okay, I mean, that is, you can definitely do that. You know, you can simplify that to 3.5 and add a root of 3. Okay, but that is how you write. That's how you apply the 4th rule of exponential. That's how you apply that. So let's go to, we're going to go now to doing other form of calculation in exponentials. Okay, let's go to calculation in exponential. And now that will be in our next class. We'll talk about how do you, we're going to do a lot of examples of exponents. We'll do that example. We'll look at order of operations of integers. And then I think once we have the order of operation, I think we will be done with integers completely. Okay, we're done with integers completely. So stay tuned for the next class. I hope you enjoyed this class. I hope you learned something new. Again, if you have not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be dropping some new videos quite frequently now. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye-bye.